Lauren Chizik, Executive Director.
John Bullock, City Council Representative to the Commission.
Sarah Langmead, Commissioner.
Jill Dennis, Commissioner.
Tamara Woods, Commissioner representing DHCD.
Nicole Battle, Commissioner representing Nonprofit Developers.
Gary Rodwell, Commissioner representing the Coppin Heights Community Development Corporation and the Preservation Community.
Myra Mendeleev, Commissioner.
Peter Morrill, Commissioner.
Kapalian, Commissioner.
Ann Powell, Commissioner representing Greater Baltimore Committee.
CHAP staff.
Tyreek Charlouse, CHAP staff.
Anthony Stewart, CHAP staff.
Thank you all. The CHAP mission is to enhance and promote the culture and economy of Baltimore through the preservation of buildings, structures, sites, and neighborhoods that have aesthetic, historic, and architectural value. The goals of CHAP include preserving historical architecture and monuments, reclaiming broken neighborhoods, preventing demolition by neglect, and integrating our city's past into its future. I want to give you all a couple housekeeping rules. You probably saw this sheet right here. If you do not have a copy of our agenda, please feel free to get one outside. If you do want to give public comment, there's a sheet that looks like this. Please feel free to put your name on the list so that we can recognize you. We don't tell people to turn their cell phones off, but keep your phones on vibrate. If you need to take a call, please take the call outside. If you have a conversation with one another, please take the conversation outside. As you can tell, the mics pick up everything. Finally, I'll say this. When you are called to the mic, we give people maximum 3 minutes to speak. When you see Harry Spikes do this, that means you've got 30 seconds left. So usually I lift my hammer up when it's 2 minutes and 30 seconds left. Very rarely do we have to hit the gavel on anyone, but we want to be mindful of people who are testifying, also folks who are giving public comment and presentation. Once again, thank you for coming. I'd like to make a motion to waive the reading of the minutes. Are there any corrections or additions to the minutes? Seeing none, I'd like to make a motion to adopt the minutes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
The ayes have it. Due process and review procedures. CHAP reviews applications in conjunction with the building permit process of the permits section of the Department of Housing and Community Development. If a building permit application is filed prior to historic design review, the application is placed on hold. Pending completion of the CHAP review process, the review process is completed by issuing an authorization to proceed. The historic design review process is in addition to other applicable laws and regulations and does not diminish the force of urban renewal, plans, buildings, codes, zones, codes, etc. It is the applicant's responsibility to comply with all applicable laws, regulations, and codes. Proposed projects are reviewed prior to issuing a building permit. Applicants must comply with the Baltimore City Historic Preservation Design Guidelines in planning and executing the projects. Design review considers the proposed work taking into consideration the historical and architectural character of the structure and of the immediate area. Applicants will need to clearly explain how their project complies with design guidelines. Minor projects. In order to expedite the application process, the Commission has delegated review authority to the Executive Director for cases involving minor work. Minor project must not significantly change the overall appearance or remove the significant undamaged historic fabric. All minor work must clearly meet the design guidelines. Major projects. Major projects may change the overall character, appearance, and integrity of the structure. Substantial building alterations, demolitions, additions, and new constructions are considered major projects and are reviewed at a public hearing. Interested parties should request a pre-development meeting in the planning department to begin the review process. An electronic version of the materials must be submitted to the CHAP staff at least 25 calendar days prior to the public hearing day. If the application is complete, the project shall be scheduled for a public hearing. CHAP hearings. At the public hearing, CHAP staff presents recommendations to the Commission regarding the project. Following the staff presentation, the application may make a presentation to the Commission. Interested parties, including neighborhood associations, have the opportunity to provide public testimony. Following testimony, the Commission renders a decision on the application at the public hearing. Persons aggrieved by the decision of the Commission may seek judicial and appellate review in accordance with the Baltimore City Code. After an authorization to proceed is issued, the applicant may obtain a building permit. The commission's process is impartial, and staff's comments are evidence that assist the commission in rendering decisions. I would like to ask for a motion to approve the final agenda. All in favor? Aye. Let us begin. On our agenda, first on our list, we have 2201 and 2601 Falls Road, Maryland, and Pennsylvania Road, Fallsway Road House. The request certified local government CLG review of National Register nomination. The applicant is the Maryland Historical Trust, and our staff is Rachel. Thank you, Rachel.
Thank you, and good afternoon again. Let's see here. So yes, this is again a certified local government review of the proposed designation of the Maryland and Pennsylvania, the Monpah Railroad Falls Road Roundhouse on the National Register of Historic Places. And once again, it's being nominated for criteria A and C. In 1910, the Roundhouse for the Maryland and Pennsylvania Railroad began operations on Falls Road. For nearly 50 years, the semicircular frame and stone masonry roundhouse sheltered cars and engines close to the railroad's terminus in Baltimore. And the property as a whole is comprised of 2 adjacent parcels, which, along with the roundhouse, contain 3 other buildings that assisted in train operation and maintenance. A structure originally used for tool storage, constructed in a similar style with stone masonry, and another stone masonry building for additional shop space and utilities, along with a metal freight shed. So with completion of the roundhouse, the railroad was able to end its practice of subcontracting maintenance work using the B&O's facilities. It also consolidated the railroad's operations staff in one area. In 1913, the railroad reached personnel peak, employing 573 people, mostly in Baltimore. However, in the ensuing decades, the railroad went into decline as ridership dropped along with freight. Eventually, passenger service ended in 1954, and the line to Baltimore shut down 4 years later. While it was in operation, the Maryland and Pennsylvania Railroad linked the urban center of Baltimore to the agricultural region of southern Pennsylvania. As such, this line in the regional rail industry played an important role in the economic development of the region prior to the rise of the trucking industry. And it was really the trucking industry that led to the decline of freight for the railroad. As an integral part of the railroad operations, the Falls Road Roundhouse played a critical role in Monpah's ability to provide these services, which is criterion A. Architecturally, the roundhouse, according to the nomination author, illustrates the arts and crafts style popular during the early 20th century and retains a unique features uncommon to roundhouse construction, including coursed rubble and hip roof, making it a rare example of stone masonry roundhouse, again, according to the author. It also retains a strong feeling and association from its period of construction, thus meeting the requirements of criterion C. So, actually, let me go back. Staff believes that the argument for eligibility under criterion C is fully met. But we believe that the arguments for criterion A could be strengthened. The author's site claims that this railroad, and I quote, indelibly influenced the socioeconomic fabric of the region, end quote. And we don't contest this, but we think that the argument could be strengthened, and we include suggestions in the staff report to explore issues of freight, particularly its connection to Peach Bottom Slate as the primary railroad to transport Peach Bottom Slate. Also how it connected communities, particularly communities in rural regions that did not have access to other modes of transportation, particularly the turnpike. And the author's argument that it led to the rise of commuter traffic, particularly to Bel Air. And so we are wondering if that actually contributed to suburbanization and the rise of suburbs like Bel Air and closer to Baltimore. And so those are all kind of more detailed in the staff report. So staff recommends approval of the nomination because it meets criteria C for significance in train facility architecture. And staff supports the nomination of this property under criterion A, but recommend that the arguments for this criterion be strengthened somewhat.
Rachel, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Commissioners, do you have any questions for Rachel? Seeing none. Commissioners, we have 1, 2, 3 people who have signed up for public testimony. I'll go from the first name that I see, Chris McNally, if I pronounce your last name wrong.
Would it be possible to change the order to give my executive director, Matt Nolan, a chance to go first?
It's quite all right. Come on up. Yep. All right.
I just want to sign up. Where is it?
And Matt, could you give us your full name?
Certainly. Good afternoon, commissioners, staff, and guests. I'm Matthew Nawn, the executive director of the Baltimore Streetcar Museum, and I'm truly honored to have an opportunity to be here today to offer some very brief remarks on behalf of the museum regarding the proposed National Register nomination of the former Maryland and Pennsylvania Railroad Roundhouse, as well as the Maryland and Pennsylvania Railroad Freight Shed, located at 2601 and 2201 Falls Road, respectively. These structures carry such important significance to the history of the city of Baltimore, as described in the application. And if these structures are added to the National Register of Historic Places, they offer so much more opportunity for the surrounding community and for this great city, as they will be part of the planned reimagining of the Baltimore Streetcar Museum. Their inclusion in the National Register will catalyze the strategic, phased, and exciting $28 million revitalization of the Baltimore Streetcar Museum, as well as the entire Jones Falls Valley, for the educational and recreational benefit of both local residents and visitors. In a city which sparked the rail transportation era of our nation, the heritage of the Maryland and Pennsylvania Railroad has long been underrepresented. The Maryland and Pennsylvania Roundhouse is the last surviving stone structure of its type in the state of Maryland. It is a unique cultural gem that, with the protections and opportunities provided by a National Register nomination, will enable it to be revitalized and preserved in a manner that will afford it the highest and best use for the city of Baltimore and the state of Maryland. As the signature structure of the future Baltimore Streetcar Museum, which owns and preserves the most comprehensive single city collection of streetcars and related public transportation vehicles and artifacts in the United States, let alone in its home city, and perhaps the world's most comprehensive collection. The Roundhouse and the Freight House, although tarnished gems, they are restorable. And through this nomination and through the follow-on project with the Streetcar Museum, they'll be brought back to life in a manner that will spur educational opportunities, community pride, and bring tremendous positive recognition to Baltimore. The Maryland and Pennsylvania Freight House, just up the street from the Roundhouse, long underappreciated, will become a source of community pride and present new opportunities to the community, as the Baltimore Streetcar Museum will be able to present the unique machine shop contained inside for prearranged tours and perhaps part of future educational program in partnership with mechanical trades and technology education providers. These structures represent opportunity, an opportunity which we maximize through the protection afforded by inclusion on the National Register. The Baltimore Streetcar Museum is very grateful for this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Chris, are you still coming up?
Good afternoon, commissioners. Thank you so much for the opportunity to address this important agenda item. My name is Christopher McNally, and I'm the Executive Vice President of the Baltimore Streetcar Museum. I'm here today wearing my hat as a lover of the history of Baltimore and also as a representative of the museum. To piggyback on Matt Nawn, who is our newly hired first ever full-time executive director who started in June, his comments, I just wanted to add a few things. First, as it relates to Criterion A, I do consider myself a bit of a student of the history of the wonderful Maryland and Pennsylvania Railroad. For railroad historians, the Ma and Pa is literally the little railroad that could. They were running steam trains well into the mid-1950s up to York, Pennsylvania via some wonderful little communities. It cut through areas of Baltimore that are still bear the history of the railroad. I actually started at at my firm, Bodie Law, which was built to site the top of the Towson train station of the Ma and Pa Railroad. And I said to them, you must hire me. You have pictures of the Ma and Pa on the wall. And actually, in terms of the growth and development and the places it served, I mean, I have read many books about the Ma and Pa. They brought coal to Towson University. Black & Decker had a spur, so they helped to grow one of the biggest industries in Maryland. The farming communities of Harford County, Forest Hills, Blair, would not be the places they are today without the Ma and Pa. Speaking as a representative of the Baltimore Streetcar Museum, where I've been a volunteer for 25 years, I've been on the board for 15 years. I've been operating streetcars. My great-grandfather was the chief of substation maintenance for the transit company in Baltimore from 1925 till the 1950s. I can tell you that the transformational $25 million project that we are working on to eventually acquire and restore this roundhouse to be part of our new campus is going to be one of the neatest projects that the city has seen in years. I realize that that is not necessarily a criteria to be considered from Part A and Part C, but I can certainly say that we on the board of the museum have committed ourselves to the great city of Baltimore. We have committed ourselves to this project, and I can certainly say with assurance that if this building is added to the National Register, wonderful things are going to be happening in the Jones Falls Valley, and I really appreciate everyone's time. Thank you.
Chris, thank you, sir. Of course you can.
Sir?
Mr. Chris, come back up.
Oh, yes.
Matthew, you too. Just in case.
Gary Rodwell, Commissioner. I've had the pleasure of taking my grandchildren to the one downtown. I guess it's on it's not on Holland Street.
I'm probably thinking of the B&O Railroad Museum.
Yes. What, if any, relationship are you all going to have to that?
No direct relationship. We're two completely separate entities and organizations. We have a lot of synergy, being fellow, we're streetcars, they're railroad, but nothing direct per se.
We do share some volunteers.
Yeah, we share some volunteers.
We do share some volunteers, and we have been in discussions with the B&O about looking at joint marketing for events because they tell the American Railroad story, and what we tell is the story of how Baltimore residents moved within the city, and the two complement. But we do share, like I said, some volunteers, and we're looking at ways we could strategically partner because it may look like, well, there's two roundhouses, but it's two components of the overall transportation picture in Baltimore, each one in different neighborhoods that we hope will help that educational mission, that complete picture.
So I had a question regarding the historical relationship to the surrounding context, and thinking maybe this could strengthen criterion A. But I was curious if any of the mill buildings further up north on like Clipper Mill, do you know if there's a relationship, like whether or not any of like the cotton sales and they needed to ship the freight, were there any direct historical interactions that you know of with those kinds of adjacent buildings in that area?
Just a few related comments. The freight house, the 2201 Falls Road structure, became such an important part of the community. There was so much traffic, actually. It's an interesting story. One of the first streetcar lines rerouted in Baltimore was on the lower end of Falls Road because of the traffic. And that traffic was for pickups and things that weren't, areas that weren't directly served by rail, where some of the mills were, both from the Ma and Pa, and particularly the Northern Central, the Pennsylvania Railroad. There were other mills that were not. And those materials, if there wasn't a railroad spur, would have left from the freight house itself. That's probably the most direct connection. The streetcar line on Falls Road, though, its purpose was to bring workers to the Maryland, Pennsylvania, bring workers to the mills and back home again. Anything to offer?
No, that's great.
Sure.
Peter, go ahead.
Just want to say thanks for working on this. I live up the hill in Remington and have always looked down and admired this roundhouse, and I was so excited to hear you guys were trying to do something with it. So best of luck to y'all. I appreciட் your efforts.
Thank you so very much.
Awesome. Anyone else?
Similarly, I've been driving by that for years. I love taking the old Falls Road as a scenic alternate, and I would love to see the roundhouse restored.
And we are all geeking out because
He's right. I'm never
because I run past it when I'm doing my runs at Gwynns Falls. But one quick question. I love the idea, but how many extra streetcars do you have? I mean, I love them, and I love the graffiti that's around there. Can you speak to some of that too?
Go ahead.
Number of cars, we have 16 in the collection currently. Approximately 8 are operable at any one time. Now, that doesn't include cars under restoration. To give you a little quick context, we have horse-drawn cars that date as early as 1858. Our oldest operable car, which we use for special events. Please come see us sometime for one of the special events. It dates from 1888. It was actually pulled by horses and then cable, and it's electric, and we do operate it. And we do teach the skills necessary to operate and maintain these vehicles. That's one of the points of this roundhouse, to really get, so they're not locked in a steel shed and then they come out occasionally, but to put them in a proper exhibit space where they can really maximize that value in the community.
We also tell the story, of course, of the end of the streetcar era.
Sure.
And we have the very last streetcar that turned a wheel in the city of Baltimore on the final night that they ran on an all-night fan trip, November 3rd, 1963, when it pulled into Irvington Car House. That's car number 7407. It made appearances in the movies Avalon and Liberty Heights. It's a gem of a car. It's one of my favorite streetcars in the world. It comes out to operate all the time. So it's a wonderful, romantic, beautiful history. We tell the story of streetcars, but the story of Baltimore and how it grew.
And just one more shout out. So I used to work in Whitehall Mill, and so I used to drive past it all the time and was always wondering about it. But I frequently would see people doing photo shoots with the graffiti as the backdrop. And so it's just a really cool space. And like everybody, I think we're excited.
We're feeling all the
to see.
love.
Yeah.
Thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
No, you're welcome. This has been fun. We've got one more person for this topic, John Southern. And John, forgive me if I pronounce your name wrong.
No, you got
Okay.
it right.
Okay, gotcha,
Yep,
okay.
yep. John Southern, I'm Historic Preservation Specialist with Baltimore City Department of General Services. And it actually was outgoing Director Holcomb who suggested this project to put this remarkable property on the National Register. So in the spirit of interdepartmental collaboration, it went forward. DOT's mixed up in this somehow too, but I won't go into that. I didn't really come to offer testimony. I do believe these two gentlemen offered very strong testimony. I just want to be here to show that I'm accountable for my work, and I do believe in my work. I think it's a good nomination. I also very much appreciate the recommendations of the staff on how the Criterion A argument could be strengthened. And if it's possible, I'll make it happen. Aside from that, I'm just here to take questions, concerns, complaints, comments.
John, I'll just say thank you for assisting in writing this. It means a lot, so appreciate you, sir.
Oh,
I mean that.
it was an honor to do it. I mean, any preservationist, these are big lifts, but they're very important opportunities
Right.
for
I just-
preservationists. So I'm very happy to do it.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that's on the record that people know what you did. So thank you, sir.
Thank you so much.
Any questions for John? Okay, that is all for our testimony. We're already at the page. Commissioners, before we render a decision, is there any conversation you all like to have amongst each other? Okay, seeing none. Staff's recommendations approval of the nomination because it meets criteria C for the significance in trained facility architecture. Staff supports the nomination of this property under criterion A, but recommend that the arguments for this criterion be strengthened. Do I have someone to put the motion forward?
I would like to move staff's recommendation.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any abstain? Any opposed? The ayes have it. Next on our list, we have 200 and 210 West Madison Street and 806 and 808 Park Avenue, First Presbyterian Church in Mansay. I hope I pronounced that wrong, right, Rachel. Request certified local government CLG review of National Registrar boundary increase and additional information. The application, once again, is Maryland Historical Trust, and our staff is Rachel.
Thank you. I actually had to look that up because I was like, what exactly is a manse? Apparently it's just for the Presbyterian Church and it's where the pastor lives. So I learned something new with this. So yes, this is for a boundary increase. The First Presbyterian Church was listed on the National Register in 1973 for its significance relating to Criterion C architecture. But only the original church building and manse, which were constructed, sorry, let me get over here, between 1845 and 1859, were included. So the revised nomination seeks to expand the physical boundaries to include 2 additional structures: the Patrick Allison House, which was constructed in 1881, and the Hodge House, which was, bless you, constructed from 1887 to 1888. And you can see in the Sanborn map there, the dotted line, it was the original boundary, and then the solid red line is the expansion. So the First Presbyterian Church has a long history of social activism, dating back to its founding minister, Reverend Dr. Patrick Allison, for whom the Allison House is named, who was a strong supporter of religious freedom, free speech, and abolitionism. Allison was a founding member of the Maryland Society for Promoting the Abolition of Slavery in 1789. And the church remained committed to social causes through the 19th and 20th century, but is perhaps mostly known for being a pivotal site of activism during the rise of the gay power movement of the 1960s and 70s and of AIDS activism in the 1980s. The church, by the late 1960s, which was First in Franklin by this time, was the first mainstream church that welcomed LGBTQ parishioners. According to the nomination author, First in Franklin clergy and members played a leadership role in the religious scene with their outspoken support of gay rights, AIDS activism, marriage equality, and other issues important to the LGBTQ community, end quote. The church as a whole also participated in the first Baltimore Gay Pride Parade in 1975. In 1982, the church began blessing services for same-sex couples. The following year, it hosted the first AIDS support group in Baltimore and held the first public forum on AIDS in the city, which established the foundation for HERO, the Health Education Resource Center, the first organization to provide AIDS education and support services in Baltimore. So, as such, staff recommends approval of the nomination revision because the property meets both criteria A and C of the National Register of Historic Places.
Rachel, thank you. Commissioners, do you have any questions for Rachel? Rachel, I will say, I thought that church just was always historic. I didn't think it, I thought it was already historic.
It's basically what they have done is revise the nomination. The original nomination does not have all of these details about particularly the social significance of the church. And so the revised nomination provides all of that information and more architectural information, both about the original properties in addition to the 2 houses that they are proposing to be included.
Okay, thank you. Commissioners, on the list, I see one person, Michael Ryan.
Let's see, he's for Bethel, so I think it's
I'm sorry, forgive me. I'm sorry. Yeah.
John McLucas and Reverend Marcos.
John McLucas. Are you here, John? Come on up.
I'm John McLucas. I'm currently a ruling ordained elder in the congregation First in Franklin Presbyterian Church. I've been a member for over 40 years. I was in the picture of the Gay Pride Parade in 1987, or I took it. I took that picture. You can see it. The parade, which at that time began at the Washington Monument, walked directly past the side door of our church on Park Avenue. And the expansion of the designated area, I think, is especially appropriate at this exact historical moment, because for many years we stressed about disposition of the extra buildings, the Patrick Allison House and the Hodge House, and there were times when it was considered selling them. But currently they're very critical components of a development project we're working on to use them for community outreach in mission-appropriate ways, and also, frankly, respecting the fact that those buildings have aged into being of historic interest, because there were times when the congregation considered the necessity of demolishing one of them. So this proposal represents the kind of mature present phase of our belief that we can impact the neighborhood positively in many ways through full use of our campus. Comprises buildings which have been not intensely used for several years, but we now have really plausible concepts for developing them as community resources.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you. Next on our list, we have Reverend Mark Phillips.
Good afternoon, all, and thank you for this opportunity. I don't really have much to add to what John has shared with you. Just for record, the current pastor does not live at 210 Madison Street. It has been a while since that was the home of the current pastor. You've seen photographs and have heard about some of First and Franklin's past, but I'd like to speak very briefly to what the congregation is doing today and how this boundary increase and this additional designation will be helpful. The church continues to provide a home and a meeting space for AIDS Action Baltimore. We also provide meeting space for the Mount Vernon Belvedere Association. 3 Saturdays out of the month, out of Patrick Allison House, the church operates a food pantry that seeks to assist individuals in our immediate neighborhood. Their numbers continue to increase. Last Saturday alone, they served over 45 individuals. The church continues to be a mission and a ministry to the Mount Vernon area and to the city at large. So thank you for your time.
Reverend, thank you, sir. Thank you. Seeing none on our list, thank you, Tyreek. Commissioners, before we render a decision, would you all have any comment? Yes, ma'am.
This is just sort of a comment, just acknowledging, but I appreciate getting to learn a little bit more about the history and the social context. A very good friend of mine attends this church, and he's a gay man, was raised Catholic, but he ended up finding a home with this church. And I don't attend church, but I actually went to this church because it was really important for my friend to become a member of it, because it was a really welcoming place. And also, I got to tie one of those purple ribbons on the side of the building, so it was real special getting to do that. So I just wanted to say I was aware of the welcoming environment. Today, it's good to see that history is being recognized.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. Anyone else? Okay. Staff recommends approval of the nomination revision because the property meets criteria A and C of the National Registrar of Historic Places. Who would like to put the motion forward? Do I have a motion? Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any abstain? Any opposed? Yeah, ayes have it. Cool. Next on our list, 209 South Bethel Street. Eddie likes the lights off. Fells Point Historic District tentative request demolition hearing 2, determination of substantial hardship application, the Housing Authority of Baltimore City. The staff is Eddie Leon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, ladies and gentlemen. We have a demolition hearing 2, determination of substantial hardship for 209 South Bethel Street in the Fells Point Historic District. Applicant is Housing Authority of Baltimore City. I will briefly go through the photographs and more in detail through the content. 209 South Bethel Street, located north edge of the Fells Point Historic District, nearly abutting the Washington Hill Historic District. Here's the property in question. It is a lone standing building located on the east side of South Bethel Street near the intersection with East Pratt Street. The building here is denoted by the arrow, a single standalone building where there once historically was many other similarly identical row homes. Background, CHAP Commission reviewed in September, demo hearing 1, requests for this property and determined the structure to be contributing to the Fells Point Historic District. The house had been privately owned and was recently purchased by the Housing Authority in February. Historically, the building does not appear in the 1822 Poppleton, but then does appear further along in the city's history in 1857, notably seen in the 1869 Saxe aerial view, and then further you can see the context of its original setting, surrounded by nearly identical row homes of its type by the turn of the century and into the beginning of the 20th century. By the 1940s, the area had been converted, with half of Bethel Street being demolished for the Perkins Homes public housing, and remained part of a group of houses until the 1990s and early 2000s. The building is located here, standalone again, noted by the arrow, next to empty lots that were demolished as part of housing department's emergency demolitions. Again, a view looking east, we see the building standalone here, north, and from the looking west. The building is located along here on the Alley Street side, and further up and looking south on South Bethel Street. The building as it is now, southern wall was reinforced at the time of demolition of its neighbor properties back in 2012, I believe it was, by the housing department. And then the building was reinforced to the north earlier.
Eddie, excuse me, I'm sorry. Just want to give everyone a reminder, only public comment is given on top of the podium when called upon. Thank you.
The front elevation, as it currently stands, windows have all been replaced. Some original trim work does exist. The proposal is the applicants propose to demolish the building. Application of guidelines, CHAP staff applied 3.6 demolition procedures of the Baltimore City Historic Preservation Rules and Regulations, specifically demolition hearing 2, determination of substantial hardship. I won't go into the deep details of the hardship application, but it is noted the commission will determine whether demolition will constitute a substantial detriment to the public welfare, and demolition will be without substantial derogation to the intents and purposes of Article 6 of the Baltimore City Code. In making their finding, the commission may consider the following among the other case-specific factors: historic and architectural value and significance, architectural style, general design, arrangement, texture, material, color, structure, immediate neighborhood, the location, the visibility of the structure to be demolished, the structural stability, hazards, conditions, health and public safety issues, and code enforcement history and previous commission actions regarding the structure. An authorization to proceed for demolition may only be issued if the property has been determined non-contributing to the local district, or the commission determines that the demolition of the contributing structure meets the following requirements of the ordinance. The demolition will be without substantial detriment to the public welfare. The demolition will be without substantial derogation of the intents and purposes of the CHAP ordinance, and denial of the demolition permit will result in substantial hardship to the applicant. Demolition application requirements. Form. Housing Authority has provided an ownership of the property who had previously owned it, and they are now the owners as of February 28, 2025. They've provided information regarding the cost of demolition, approximately just shy of $35,000. They have provided a report from the licensed engineer. Structural engineer's report identifies cracks on the front and rear elevations with a significant bowing at the base of one wall, deteriorating mortar, and evidence of a sloping slab on grade foundation. The interior is severely deteriorated due to water damage and termite damage. The engineer states that the building's condition is beyond reasonable repair and requires demolition. They've provided in appraisal reports, list the appraised value of the property at $75,000. Effective date from October of 2024. Itemized breakdown of professional experience in rehabilitation as to the cost of rehabilitation or reuse of the existing structure. Construction-related expenses and hard construction costs are projected to be approximately $35,000, and the overall development cost will be just shy of $500,000 for the site. Amount paid for the property and date of purchase was provided by the housing authorities, bought from Brenda Owens Proctor. The property was not an income-producing property, never has been historically. There's no knowledge of any previous offers of attempts to be purchased for the property. It currently was assessed at $116,000. Proposed new plans for the site. Let me go back a little bit. The Housing Authority of Baltimore City is planning to construct between 7 to 8 townhouses at the southeast corner of East Pratt along South Bethel Street. The preliminary plans are for 5 townhouses to be constructed at 1625 through 39 East Pratt Street and 2 townhouses at 203 through 209 South Bethel Street. The vacant lot at 211 South Bethel Street is not owned by HABC. If 211 South Bethel is sold to HABC at a later date, HABC will construct another townhouse built on 211 through 213 South Bethel Street. The proposed new site plan, as seen in the image here, depicts this development proposal. The footprints in the proposed townhouses are wider than the existing lots on Bethel Street, and where the lots are 12 feet wide by 57 feet long. The proposal is to construct new homes that are effectively the width of 2 existing lots. The footprint of the existing houses occupies less than half of that of the proposed new housing unit. Additional information, the proposed townhouses are being developed by HABC as part of the Perkins Somerset Old Town PSO Transformation Plan. In order to create homeownership opportunities within the PSO footprint, the PSO plan is being led by HABC and is a strategy to transform former public housing sites into mixed-income communities. HABC intends for these new townhomes to provide homeownership opportunities to low-income residents because these homes will use HUD funding. There are strict requirements related to construction and minimum requirements. These row houses are designed to have 3 bedrooms. Neighborhood comments. The demolition, as originally presented, hearing in 1, the Fells Point Design Review Committee was provided the application and believes that the building has lost its historic context and that the location and visibility of the structure to be demolished would not detract from the historic significance of the Fells Point Historic District. There is a letter of opposition submitted by Mr. Chris Hyde in regards to this site. Analysis. 209 South Bethel Street is a rare remaining example of the 2-story and an attic Greek Revival style worker housing. Based on structural engineering reports, the building is in poor condition and requires demolition. While the former party walls on each side elevation have been reinforced with concrete block, the masonry on the front and rear elevations has cracks, significant bowing at the base of one wall, deteriorating mortar, and evidence of a sloping slab-on-grade foundation. The interior is severely deteriorated due to water damage and termite damage. The applicant has stated that retaining and rehabilitating this building will create a hardship both in terms of cost and the rehabilitation compared to the cost of demolition and new construction, but also in terms of the impacted larger development plan for the townhouse development if this building is retained. The hardship test asked the applicant to demonstrate the project would be economically infeasible without the allowance of demolition of the structure. The building at 209 South Bethel Street contributes to the Fells Point Historic District. However, the structural engineer's report demonstrates that it's in poor condition and recommends demolition. The applicants have completed an estimate of the cost to rehabilitate the property, including the cost of an addition compared to the cost of demolishing the building and building a new structure. While rehabilitation is possible, it would cost more than demolition, and new construction combined would result in a housing product that would not fully meet HUD's stringent standards, and the retention of the building would negatively impact the layout and development of the adjacent townhouses. Thus, staff believes the denial of a demolition permit will result in substantial hardship to the applicant and the intent to provide affordable low-income housing to residents from the surrounding community. would be detrimental to the public welfare and derogate from the intents and purposes of the CHAP ordinance. Recommendation. Staff recommends approval of the demolition of the building at 209 South Bethel Street because the applicant has demonstrated that, 1, the demolition will be without substantial detriment to the public welfare. The demolition will be without substantial derogation of the intents and purposes of the CHAP ordinance. And the denial of a demolition permit will result in a substantial hardship to the applicant. Thank you very much, Commissioners.
Eddie, thank you. Commissioners, do you have any questions for Eddie? Okay, seeing none. On our list, we have 2 public testimony. First, Mr. Michael Ryan.
Everyone hear me okay? Speak louder? Good, all right. Thank you, Mr. Leon, for the introduction and for your presentation. Good afternoon, Chairman Spikes and CHAP Commission. I'm returning with a request for an authorization to proceed with demolition for 209 South Bethel Street. HABC believes that the request for an authorization to proceed with demolition meets the criteria outlined in the Baltimore City Historic Preservation Rules and Regulations. 1, the demolition will be without substantial detriment to public welfare. Demolition will remove a vacant house that was recently inhabited by squatters and would prevent future use by squatters of the structure. The building has been determined to be structurally unsound by a licensed engineer, as Mr. Leon has already spoken to, and the building and current lot size doesn't meet the needs of the modern family. 2, the demolition will be without substantial derogation from the intents and purposes of the CHAP ordinance. The Fells Point Architectural Review Committee approved of the demolition of the building previously, and future construction will be subject to CHAP approval. Even with the rehabilitation, the lot size and floor plan are functionally obsolete for a modern family to use. And 3, the denial of a demolition permit will result in substantial hardship to the applicant. And an inability to demolish 209 Bethel Street would create hardship in the form of suboptimal floor plans for not only this building, but the lots to the north of this building. Rehabilitation would be, and what I mean by that is trying to fit 2 lots or 2 buildings into 203, 205, and 207 Bethel Street. And rehabilitation would be $60,000 or more expensive with a less optimal product. HABC's mission is to create and provide affordable housing opportunities and sustainable neighborhoods for the people we serve. We deeply believe the best way to advance the mission at the corner of Bethel and Pratt is to demolish the existing structure and build sustainable and contemporary housing that meets the needs of modern families. I was going to go into the history of the CNI, but again, Mr. Leon did a great job of going over the overview of how long we've been trying to work on putting home ownership options on this corner. Thank you for your time and consideration, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Michael, thank you, sir. Commissioners, do you have any questions for Michael? Okay, seeing none. Thank you, sir. Nick. Hold on. I've said it once, I'll say it again. There's a cadence here at our hearing. When you are called upon to speak, you are allowed to speak. There's no conversation unless this commission authorizes it. Mr. Michael, you go right ahead and have a seat. Next on our list, Ms. Shael Salter.
I emailed you, sorry, couldn't make any copies, but this is my written testimony. This is the definition of blight. The first part encompasses vacant lots. And this third is the plan to displace well over 200,000 Baltimore citizens, which relates to this. And also I have maps so that you can start looking at them. And on this one, I circled some places where the house could be relocated. This whole thing about substantial hardship
First,
to the applicant.
give your full name first for the record.
Okay, my name is Shal Seltz. I'm a Baltimore citizen. The whole thing of substantial hardship to the applicant is Baltimore City Department of Housing and Community Development, who is not a substantial hardship. So it'd be very bad news, and we would probably be in receivership. So gotta take that off. Second, you have still not provided the public picture, the interior pictures of this building, the 209 South Bethel Street. 209 South Bethel Street, as it was, I believe it was said that it's a rare worker house, Greek Revival, and if it's historic and why it's here, why not move it? As Eddie Leon said, it's $35,000, but it's much more expensive than that. It's much more expensive to build a new house. It's much more expensive to allow PCBs and lead and nitrogen oxides and nitrogen dioxides, which are legal. I mean, never mind the asbestos. We have, so I'm going to read the points. I already, 209 South Bethel Street should be a relocation catalyst. It's very easy to move houses, especially older houses, because they have plaster and they stand up very well moving them. There's no more room. We have no place to put these houses in landfills, and the proposal of tearing down at least 37,500 houses and then an additional 45,000, which equals 82,500 houses, and we're at less than 13,000 actually vacant. That means you're going to displace, very conservatively, with each subtracting the 13,000, 37,500 minus 13,000 is 24,000. That's 24,000 families to be displaced.
Associate of 37.
As well as over altogether 71,500 families. There's going to be everything in the court and lots of houses that are going to have to be moved. And this is a proper choice to move it. And I have pictures, and we're talking about half a block. And what about those other buildings on the other side of it? Not talking about tearing those down. There's no reason why we can't relocate it, and I have a possible people that will renovate it.
Thank you. Tyree, can you take us to our recommendation page? Commissioners, before we render a decision, is there any conversation that you all like to have? Okay. Do we have any online? Okay, seeing none. The recommendation, staff recommends approval of the demolition of the building at 209 South Bethel Street because the demolition will be without substantial determined detriment to the public welfare. The demolition will be without substantial derogation from the intents and purposes to the CHAP ordinance, and the denial of a demolition permit will result in a substantial hardship to the applicant. Do I have a motion to put forth the recommendation?
So moved.
Do I have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? The ayes have it. Thank you. Finally, on our list, we have 1811 Utah Place, Bolton Hill Historic District. The request, concept review, construct one-story brick garage at rear. The applicant is Ryan Mikulski, East Wing Architects. Staff is Eddie.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, ladies and gentlemen. We have concept review, construct one-story brick garage at the rear of 1811 Utah Place in the Bolton Hill Historic District. Monique Summerfield is the owner. The property is located here along the Utah Place corridor on the west side of the Bolton Hill Historic District, nearest the northern end. Property fronts Utah Place. The site in question is the rear of the lot, which butts along Jordan Street. Here's the property as seen from overhead. It currently is a parking pad in the back, sandwiched between two existing carriage and garages. Background, property has been reviewed by CHAP staff for a few projects since the 1990s. Relatively minor stuff, including some rehabilitation work to the windows and replacement of facade and rear roof replacement, recladding of the rear L with wood siding. The property is seen here in 1901. The yellow marks the space where the garage is being proposed. By 1915, a small one-story garage was constructed, the first it appears to be in the neighborhood. Smaller footprint than what's being proposed, smaller than the full width of the lot. As you can see, it was surrounded by the rear facing of the other properties on the other side of Jordan Street. By the 1950s, the building is sandwiched between two structures, a brick, almost two-story garage and a concrete block, two-story garage structure on the north side of it. By present day, the building was demolished and removed. As you look here from the looking west, you see the gap space between the two garage buildings. Here it is as it looks over the adjacent park. The other row homes that were facing from Jordan Street are now since been long demolished. Here's a view looking south, looking east, and looking directly up Jordan Street. We see it here. It has a clear view of the adjacent Arnold Sumter Park. This is the rear of the 1809 Utah Place, a brick two-story garage carriage house. And we see the gap here between the 1809 and 1811. We see the 1811 gap and the 1813 Utah Place rear concrete block carriage building. This is the rear elevation of the 1811 Utah Place and the parking pad, which is partially raised up above grade of the road. Another view of the rear lot. In this view, please note the windows of the 1809 Utah Place are currently visible. These would not be visible in the new proposal that's being presented. Rear view of the 1813 Utah Place. We can almost see an outline of the previous garage structure on the side wall. There's plain, smooth concrete block on the first bottom half, and a more articulated concrete block of the second story. Proposal. The applicants propose to construct a one-story brick-clad garage that covers the width of the lot. It has two garage doors and a raised parapet wall in the west alley-facing elevation with scuppers and downspouts flanking the garage doors. The brick parapet wall on this elevation will have will serve as a safety barrier for the rooftop deck. The east elevation that faces the rear yard will have a sliding glass door on the first floor and a railing on the roof. Adjacent to the northern property line, there will be an elevated walkway connecting the roof deck to the first floor, rear porch, the north and south elevations of the garage, but the walls of the adjacent two-story carriage houses. Application of guidelines. CHAP staff applied sections 1.8.10, roof decks, 1.9.3, carriage houses, garages, sheds, and outbuildings, 2.1, guiding principles for new design, 2.2, site design, 2.3, scale and form of the Baltimore City Historic Preservation Guidelines. Roof decks. Due to the use of the high parapet wall on Jordan Street elevation, the roof deck will not be highly visible. Compatible materials be used for the roof deck, and the railings, balusters, and deckings will not be visible. The garage will be located, carriage houses, garages, sheds, and outbuildings. The garage will be located between the two existing story carriage houses. While the new garage will be larger than the historic garage that once stood there, the new structure will complement the scale, form, orientation, materials, and details of the comparable garages in the neighborhood. The materials proposed will not be confused with the historic elements or convey a false sense of history. This proposal meets this guideline. 2.1, guiding principles of new design. The new garage will use similar masonry architectural features found throughout the historic district, which include early 20th century garages. The proposal is compatible with the historic garages, but will be distinguishable from the historic buildings due to the contemporary materials and construction methods used. Site design. There will be no changes to the established property lines, and setbacks will match other secondary structures found on both sides of the proposed building. The garage will have the same orientation as other garages and will face the alley. Scale and form. Proposed new garage will have a scale as similar to the previous garage on the property as well as other one-story garages on the block and throughout the historic district. The massing is appropriate and compatible with the site and area. Flat roof is appropriate and compatible with the surrounding garages. While the height of the garage is generally compatible with adjacent carriage houses, it's unclear how this garage relates to the adjacent buildings in terms of floor-to-floor heights, and whether the parapet wall is generally aligned with the window sills of the adjacent carriage houses. This proposal largely meets this guideline. Neighborhood comments. The Bolton Hill Neighborhood Architectural Review Committee provided the following comments on the plans. The plans, materials and plans are appropriate to the neighborhood. The committee does not support the walkway from the main house to the new roof deck on the garage, citing a potential zoning issue related to the height of the walkway in relationship to the fence between the properties and the invasion of the neighbor's privacy. Additionally, the committee is concerned that damage could occur to the adjoining carriage houses during construction, and that the carriage house at 1809 Utah Place will lose the use of two windows on the property line between the two parcels. Analysis. The staff finds that the one-story brick garage with roof deck generally meets the relevant sections of the CHAP design guidelines. The garage is appropriately sited and its footprint is consistent with the majority of the garages in the historic district. The garage will have the same orientation and will be compatible in materials and form to the early 20th century garages surrounding it. The roof deck is not visible. Staff can't fully determine whether the garage is proportional to the adjacent carriage houses because those elevations are not detailed in the submission. Staff believes that this proposal can be approved at this concept level, and that the elevation submitted in the final package must include the architectural details of the adjacent carriage houses to demonstrate a compatibility of the garage's height to its neighboring carriage houses. The proposed elevated walkway between the rear porch and the garage is an uncommon feature in the historic district, but not wholly without precedent, as there are a set of stairs and an elevated walkway at the carriage houses located at 1227 Park Avenue, and another elevated walkway leading to the main house to the second floor of the carriage house at 1500 Bolton Street. The walkway at this property will not be visible within the district due to the siting of the proposed garage and the adjacent garages on the block. While the ARC's concerns about the elevated walkways are reasonable, the building code and zoning code are more appropriate venues for the addressing of those concerns. Recommendation, staff recommends concept approval with final plans to return to staff for review and approval. Thank you.
Eddie, thank you. Do we have any questions for Eddie? Seeing none. We have the applicant is here, Mr. Ryan. And Ryan, if you could give your full name.
Yes, sir. Hi, everyone. Thank you for your time. My name is Ryan McCloskey. I'm here from East Wing Architects on behalf of our clients, Monique and Michael Summerfield. Michael's also here. I believe he'll speak after me. Thank you for taking the time to look at our project. As Eddie said, it is a one-story carriage house at the rear of the property. Our clients came to us with the hopes to rejuvenate this home. It suffered a huge fire before, well, maybe 2 or 3 owners ago. They want to bring life into it and just really create their space in Baltimore City. Part of their dream is to have a space that overlooks the park, the Sumter Park that is behind them. We believe this is the best way for them to take advantage of that while also securing their property from any potential issues on the rear. By building a wall or a full width carriage home, we believe we'd be able to accomplish that. Yeah, it's pretty brief. I'm mostly here to answer any questions you may have.
Ryan, thank you. Commissioner, you have questions for him? Yes, ma'am.
What are the owners of 809? How do they feel about that?
They're not super thrilled, but we have discussed with them. They were at the ARC meeting that their windows are on the property line, and if they were to, they would not be allowed to be built that way at the moment. Their biggest concern was if the construction of the carriage home on my client's property would hurt the structure that they have on their house, of which it would not. We have a structural engineer involved, and there was discussion about how the foundations work and how flashing works, all that kind of stuff. So they are aware of the project. They are aware that the windows would be covered over. Again, they're not super excited about that, but they understand that our clients are not trying to do anything dangerous or illegal.
Nicole, thank you for your question. Ryan, I was going to ask the same thing because, and this is just from me working with my dad, put a window in, we want both sides of the wall, right? We did the caulking, we installed from the inside as well. So my concern is, are you telling me with the design that you shared with us today, that is there going to be like a space in between their window and that garage, or will that garage completely, cover that window? And if so, I don't know how a body could get in there to repair the window and do the same thing me and my father did.
Correct. So the clients did ask recently when construction, if this is approved, how construction would go ahead and when it would be an appropriate time for them to fill in those window openings. They understand that by building a carriage house that is the full width of the property, their wall would, or the new wall would touch their wall because their wall is also on the property line. So those windows would be filled in theory. That is the way the discussion's going at the moment.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Remove, all right.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you both. Anyone else? Ryan, thank you.
Yes. Thank you.
We have another person on our list, and it is Michael. Michael, I don't want to pronounce your last name wrong.
Summerfield.
Come on, right up, yep. And for the record, Michael, give us your full name.
Hi, I'm Michael Summerfield. My wife and I just purchased 1811 Utah Place, and we're really excited about transforming the house back into its historical and unique appearance. We have a bunch of other projects that are going to come before you, including windows and siding and other things that we're working on. But it was really important for us to secure the backyard, be able to put our cars away safely, and have fun with the design in a way that we can really enjoy the property. And that's, being able to use the flat roof on the garage with an overview of the park. And it's a unique property. We're really excited about it. And I'm actually kind of surprised at finding out that we have the first garage on the street back in 1901. That's kind of exciting. Learned a lot just sitting here watching this process unfold. So I appreciate all the time you take on our little project compared to the scope of the other projects earlier. Thank you for everything you do.
Thank you, thank you.
Have I questions?
Unless there's any questions from the commissioners. Seeing none, you're free to go. Oh, you're welcome. Commissioners, we do not have anyone left on our testimony sign-in sheet. So we're at the recommendation page. Before we render the decision, is there any conversation you all would like to have amongst us? Okay, gentlemen, is anything online? Anybody online? Okay. Seeing none, staff recommends concept approval with final plans to return to staff for review and approval. Do I have a motion to accept the recommendation by staff?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? The ayes have it. This concludes our hearing. Any old business? Any new business? I call this meeting to close at 2:25 p.m. Everyone have a great day.